The Pistons are the basketball champions of the world.
Detroit, it's time. It's playoff time, Detroit. Let's go to work.
Shout out Detroit. I got to buff up, you know what I'm saying? Detroit, I'm all the way in. Detroit Pistons, I'm all the way in. Let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Buff Sound Podcast. We are the best POD in the 313. We're in the dark days of the off season, so it's going to be searching for some content. Thankfully, today the JB Bickerstaff interview with RJ came out, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. But the main headline for today is we're doing a preseason preview look back. So if you haven't gone and listened to those and want to see how our opinions have aged if we don't cover it in this episode, go and check those out. We did three season preview episodes, one for the guards, one for the wings, and one for the bigs. So we're going to look back at some of our takeaways from that pod and see how they looked over the course of the year. So first things first, the big one that we had was Cade Cunningham flirting with a most improved player award and or an all-star appearance. So Valley, you're first on my screen. Do you think we were far off now that you look back at the season?
I don't really think we were at all. Like when you're looking at the numbers, he averaged 22.7, 4.3, and 7.5. Shot nearly 36% from deep. I do think he has the capabilities of being that player. I think we all know that. I think we all know that as Pistons fans, but at the end of the day, we were incredibly far off because you can't give anybody an award to that who wins 14 games. Unfortunately, it's a pretty big cloud hanging over your head. In terms of skill, absolutely, I think he's there, and I think knock on wood, but I think this next year is a potential season for him. Probably not for MIP statistically, just because I don't know how much of a jump he can realistically make coming from near 23-7. But flirt with that All-Star game. We talked about it last season, maybe even the season before that, but I think it could actually come into fruition this season that Cade Cunningham flirts with the All-Star team. But this past season, I think it was just a little too hard to do. I think he deserved a little more credit in the most improved ballots. I don't know if any of you guys know where he actually finished in the ballot. I don't think he was in like the top 5 or anything, though, was he?
He was not in the top 12.
Not in the top 12. See, I think that is over exaggerated. I think that's extreme. Is he a winner? No. Is he top 12? Absolutely. But it's so difficult to give awards to these guys when we performed the way we did last season.
For sure. And I think his numbers were also very similar to Paolo Banchero's, who actually did make the All-Star team. So kind of a little bit of a snub there, but because we at the team were so bad, I guess he didn't really get a chance. Connie, I'm going to come to you next because you had Cade averaging 20 and 6 this season. So how do you feel about your preseason prediction for Cade?
I mean, I was pretty right, I gotta say, on Cade. I know, but of course, you don't get an All-Star vote when your team loses 28 straight. And as Cade is like to do, I don't know if this was actually true, backed up by the stats. It sort of is by shooting percentages. I felt he had sort of a slower start. There was definitely like some inefficient play that got better throughout the season, especially his three-pointer. I felt like second half of the season started falling with much more regularity than first half. But that might just be anecdotal. I mean, we all saw it. We know how good Cade is when he's there, and he's playing. This team, the roster around him, I thought absolutely 100% let him down this season. He's obviously a very good player. You can see it on those, like, we've talked about it before. There's like 3 times throughout the season where like he was on like it looked like the verge of tears after a loss where he'd put up like 30 and 10, was just cooking the other team, and then I don't know, Monty Williams called the play for Alec Burks down the stretch, and whatever close game there was not anymore. I mean, I think skill level wise, Cade was on 100% in there, but I mean, I fully understand not getting any awards or recognition with the 14 wins that the Pistons put up last season,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those Brinkateer games, I mean, Cade was all of us last season. Like, that was a tough thing to get through. I think he even had a stretch where he had a couple 40-point games. Just trying to will us out of that streak. Shout out to the Chicago White Sox for trying to top our 28 game losing streak, but the Pistons are still holding the longest. They lost 21 straight. They did, but they won.
And
Oh, they won. Okay, so
yeah, get out of here. Get the hell out of here. That's our record, man.
Yeah, I know. It's ours to keep. So stay away. Gabe, any thoughts on anything we've talked about? Kate, MIP, All-Star, or Connie's prediction of 20-6 for this upcoming season or last season?
Yeah, 20-6 sounds crazy low now. With the All-Star, I feel like that you usually get All-Star with a hot start or like playing good right before All-Star break. And Kate had the second one down, but unfortunately we were in the midst of our losing streak. And like you said, Con, I think it was you who mentioned you predicted he'd start slow, and he really did for like the first 2 months even of the season.
Yeah, Valley called that one.
Oh, that was Valley. Yeah, okay.
That was Valley.
Most improved as well. Like it's really this like if you ball out the first like I don't know until Christmas, the award is pretty much yours. And like we've seen the past years, it's usually from good to great. So I think he actually has more of a chance this year than he did last year, if we actually win games and if his efficiency climbs again. But other than those stats, nothing else to add. I know I'm gonna predict even higher numbers on our pod this year for him, just like we did last year. So, yeah.
This is a tangent, but have any of you guys looked at Cade Cunningham's Twitter recently?
No.
Take a look at it right now if you could.
I don't have Twitter. Do you mind describing for all the podcasts?
Yeah, sure. I'll just kind of show you. Cade Cunningham's Twitter is now I don't even know. It looks like a
Chinese?
I think it's Chinese. It's got the profile picture is just an attractive woman. I think it's just a Chinese bot now. So I don't know what happened, but it still has 101,000 followers. Do you guys follow him?
I do. Yeah.
Because it's protected, and I actually don't follow him. I feel like kind of a bad fan. I don't follow him on Twitter.
Fake fan.
Yeah. Do you know what they're tweeting now?
I can't find anything, man. This is crazy. I don't know what's going on here.
Did you find the account or no?
Yeah, I'm on the account. Like he hasn't posted as far as I can tell recently, but I mean they look like his tweets is just the Asian lettering and the Asian profile picture along with
and it translates to sweetheart fostering platform, girls apply and add WeChat Tianxing 6151, boys at TG resource preview group.
Was that Killian Hayes hacking from China?
Killian Hayes is red? I don't know, but I think it's hilarious because like how does that even happen?
That's hilarious.
Did he do the thing where you get off social media to lock in, but made a little bit of money off of
it? Who knows what he did? Any other notes on Cade before we move into Jaden Ivey? All right. So I was hoping you guys would stall for a second.
No, I could stall.
No, I found it. All right, Valley, you had a prediction for Jaden Ivey of 20+ points this season. How do you feel about that now?
I feel the way we spoke about Jaden Ivey all season was negative, and I think that was for the most part good reason. Obviously had that giant handicap on him. When you reflect on the season, when you ask a Pistons fan, what do you think about last season? I think one of the first, if not the first things they'll say is Monty Williams killed Jaden Ivey. He ruined him. So I really think you need an asterisk by this because you don't really know. Like Killian Hayes started a large portion of the season over this guy. We said this so many times, but just how ridiculous when you look at it. But to be fair, not saying that Killian deserved to start. Jaden Ivey did not play good basketball in the last season. He turned it over way too much. He shot really inefficiently. I thought his shot selection was pretty abysmal on top of that. So bad percentages and bad looks he was getting. I think he settled for three way too much. Still, I know it's good for his body, but falling down after all those wild layup and dunk attempts leading us to a 4-on-5 defending situation. 20 seems like such a long shot for Jaden Ivey, even this next season. Obviously, I was wrong about that, and I still hold a little bit more hope, especially with Bickerstaff coming in and what he said about how he plans to use Jaden Ivey. But yeah, obviously was way off on that. I would be shocked at this point to see him hit 20 at some point in his career, especially this upcoming season. But man, I know he's a hard worker, and I really hope he proves me wrong. I see he was in the gym. He looks a lot stronger. Just looks very like I don't know. He looks very lean, very thin. Like he could still get bullied around, but looking a lot more muscular, Jaden Ivey.
He definitely
I
does.
don't even know. I don't have much else other than underwhelming season. The jump shot really underwhelmed me. As of the turnover, shot selection, and of course the defense.
Yeah, we did touch on that in the pod too. We talked about how we want to see improvement from Jaden Ivey on the defensive end, especially if he wanted to start over Killian Hayes. Funny enough, but we also predicted a high turnover count. That was also from you, Valley. So, Connie, do you remember anything about how you felt about Jaden Ivey before last season and how you feel about him now?
I mean, before last season, I was on top of the world. I thought he was all rookie second team, right? I'm pretty sure
Him and Darren both.
that was a snub. He led all rookies when he was a rookie in points created, like points and assists. But really, my takeaway from last year is just like it's forgettable, right? Like it didn't often seem like I can't point to one thing. His percentages were about the same. His turnovers were about the same. It didn't seem like he improved, but it looked like there was like a step back in I don't even know. It was just like I can't put my. It was just worse. Yeah, it definitely it seemed like he'd lost confidence in a lot of the things he was doing. Um, but also yeah, the jump shot wasn't quite falling like we thought it would. It was just really a forgettable season out of Jaden Ivey. I still believe that like his physical tools, his is like he has some like the passing chops that I believe he has. Uh, I don't know. There was just like the end of his rookie year. There were some real nice moments where he was like hitting mid rangers, taking he was like snaking screens, hitting middies, making plays down low to Jalen Duren, even hitting some like tougher threes sometimes. And I mean, there was one game I remember against Cleveland this year where he went 7 for 7 or something from downtown, but altogether just very very underwhelming. I think we dove a little too positively into him. As Pistons fans, just kind of what we do with Pistons players. But I'm far from out on him. I'm very far from out on him, especially with JB Bickerstaff, a coach that seems to believe in him and can create offensive systems that work even with like imperfect pieces. Uh, I think it could happen.
At what point do you lose hope?
Probably if this year is also bad. It's kind of like where I came out with Killian Hayes. Like after 2 years, I was like, oh, maybe. Even like Jaden Ivey has shown miles more than Killian Hayes even to this point. Um, but if it's another year like this, where he just like doesn't contribute to winning at all, um, I'm gonna yeah, I'm gonna start leaning against him.
Yeah,
But
hard to blame you there. I mean, I think, like you said, with JB Bickerstaff coming in, I have a little bit more of a high hope, especially because of how JB has already started thinking about how he wants to utilize Jaden Ivey and how he thinks getting Jaden Ivey the ball at half court with his hip facing towards the basket, trying to draw fouls is going to help him tremendously. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Gabe, your thoughts on Jaden Ivey this past season and how you thought he was going to perform before the season even began?
Yeah, again, 20 points seemed reasonable last year. I thought coming off that hot end to his rookie season, and then just there being kind of a lack of scoring, aside from him and Cade coming into this past year. I gotta agree with Valley. I think it's not gonna happen again. Like I don't think I'd predict it again this year just because there's more options, I guess. But hey, if he does hit it and he gets that efficiency up, that's great for us. Um, like I said in the earlier pod, I do think he'll still start. Uh, yeah, nothing else to add really on that take. It seemed reasonable at the time, I gotta say, and I'm interested, like especially after this last interview, which we'll touch on in a sec, I'm pretty high on JB being able to get some stuff out of Ivy that Monty was not able to, which I think most coaches would be able to.
Monty
So
didn't want to.
yeah, he didn't want to. And Ivy, we know he's a hard worker. He's extremely athletic. And even if he doesn't put it all together this year, I just want to see strides of becoming a winning basketball player. Like the example I like to use is Kobe White. Like he's what in his like fifth year this year or something, and he's just like putting it together now, fourth or fifth year. And so like with these guards, it takes some time sometimes. But I do want to see some progression where he's not taking those mid ranges you were talking about, Connie. That seemed like they weren't his choice, but he didn't know what he was going to do once he was in that position, so he just kind of threw it up. But yeah, I'm excited once again, and I'm sure in another month's time we start looking at what this season could hold. I'll be higher than I was at any point during this past season.
Oh yeah, wait until the Rico Hines runs come out, and we're watching full 20 minutes of Pistons going 5-on-5. We'll be back in. Once I see a Jaden Ivey jump shot that swishes, I'm like, ooh, he's back.
I mean, I have hope for Jaden Ivey just for the fact that we saw what JB Bickerstaff was able to do with Darius Garland, turning him into an all-star, and I believe Garland was another fifth overall pick, but I know they're totally different players, but JB Bickerstaff is known for his ability to have good defensive schemes and also player development. And that's both things that Jaden Ivey is in need of. And hopefully JB Bickerstaff and Jaden Ivey is a match made in heaven. Any other notes on Jaden Ivey's preseason predictions before we move into Asar Thompson? All right. So, Gabe, you had this one. You had Asar scoring 6 to 7 points per game on 30 to 31% from the field and 21% from three. How do you feel like your numbers have translated now that we're looking back on it a year later?
And I believe to end that thought, I said, but I think he's still going to contribute to winning basketball.
You did. I have that here too. He's still going to have a good rookie year.
Yeah, so I think that, he scored a little more. He shot a little worse from three than I thought. But yeah, kind of what I expected. He can't play offense except for cuts and dunks and some nice passes. And I think it's more interesting this year just to see, because he's such an intriguing player, to see where he fits in. But those type of percentages, they just can't hold up on a winning team. So you do need to see some offensive skill in order for him to be able to influence the game in the ways that he does, that isn't scoring. So I'm really just curious. I'm going to cook up some predictions for him. Maybe a little outside the box, but we'll talk about that in a future pod. But, he did what was expected, and I think this year coming in, Ron Holland for me will be, similar kind of stats, maybe not as effective. Even though, Asar wasn't effective towards winning, but towards good basketball.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think we any of us really expected a lot from Asar Thompson and from a scoring standpoint, but I think we all liked what we saw from him from the defensive standpoint, and I think that's something that he can hang his hat on. Guys that he was able to lock up, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He even blocked Jimmy Butler, I think, twice on opening night. So a lot of good things to see from Asar Thompson this past year. Connie, your thoughts on Asar Thompson this past season?
Oh man, that opening night game was electric, wasn't it? I feel like it was a Asar block and then a big Cade block on Hero or something. It was just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Asar did almost like exactly what I expected him to do. He got a bunch of points like in the fray, in the garbage, fast breaks, cuts, stuff like that. The shooting was obviously a touch worse than I thought it would be, but even that, it's down the stretch. Teams start caring less. He did, the percentages became a little bit better down the end of the year.
I think I heard that in like right before he got hurt, he was shooting like 28% from three in
Yeah,
his
I mean,
final few games.
not that that is good in any way, but
Yeah.
it is a progression from what he was, just getting a little bit more comfortable. As we've said a million times, Fred Vincent has his work cut out with this team. Yeah, I'm just looking at. He was by the month October to March, he was 14, 14, 16, 12%, and then the last 2 months of the season he was 29 and 25. What he did do more of than I thought he would do, what he was much more effective at than I was expecting, was rebounding, both cleaning it up on the defensive end and also really working on the offensive glass. Like he was much. I mean, I knew he was athletic, but I thought it would like sort of be less uh, pronounced in the NBA because everybody's just a great athlete, but it still showed. Like he's an athlete among athletes. His contact dunk ability was insane. Um, but yeah, it was like the rebounding and using his athleticism that I was impressed with, at least off the ball. But he did almost exactly what I expected him to do his rookie season.
Oh
And I
yeah,
thought
and
he's also a guy that was kind of screwed by Monty Williams.
yeah, he was. I mean, starting to
Flopping
start
his
and
ass
then
in the corner and being like, "Why are you not effective in the corner?"
and
Like,
losing
stop
his
playing.
starting spot to Gabe's favorite Kevin Knox as well. So
Kevin Knox.
I just went back and I rewatched the in-season tournament game between the Pistons and the Cavs, and Kevin Knox started that game and he actually played pretty well for a little while. Because I was trying to see what JB Bickerstaff runs. I wanted to watch some Pistons basketball too, so it was kind of uh, win-win for me there, except for the Pistons didn't win. But we can talk about that later. Valley, do you have any thoughts on Asar Thompson from last year to now?
I think Connie was pretty spot on with that. He kind of did do like exactly what he was like portrayed to be. He was explosive, very good backdoor cutter, got a lot of buckets out in the run, was good at defense, and just stunk from the 3-point line. Did I think he would shoot 18%? Honestly, no. I thought he'd be a little bit higher. 18 was pretty dang low, and I'm
I
not
mean,
really buying into
Gabe
those
set the
dreams.
bar so low at 21%, and we still didn't even get there.
I, I still like I don't know. I think like just mechanically there needs to be an overhaul in this jump shot. I don't see that jump shot ever being above 30% jump shot just on the way it looks. Kind of looks like a middle school jump shot. But overall, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I was pretty like pleased with Asar Thompson. I think he clearly showed he has a talent that's gonna keep him in the NBA for over a decade, I feel like. And that's his defense. It's kind of freakish at times. So he can guard multiple positions. Um, I was really happy with this defense. I think that exceeded my expectations, and I think the shooting uh underperformed on my expectations. And at the end of the day, it rounds out to be like a pretty dang solid rookie season for him. I think we were all kind of gutted when we got the number 5 pick. We gotten pretty used to that at this point, but I think we were pretty lucky with what we got from Asar Thompson. I think he's one of the few guys you can say like, I think this guy will be around for a successful basketball team.
Oh, for sure. And a question. You talked about Asar's form numerous times on the pod, saying that it was like a middle school jump shot. How did you feel about Lonzo Ball's jump shot when he came into the league?
Yeah, I obviously thought it was the worst thing ever. I don't know. Like Connie said again, like, and we've said several times, like Fred Vincent's gonna be like, he's got to work a miracle on this organization. Um, I mean, it's better than Lonzo Ball's jumper in the first place because he's not shooting from the opposite side of his head. Like that's not where the release point is. But I don't know. It just seems like a really set shot, and I don't think it's anything that can translate to NBA success at the moment in time. But I do think it can become more fluid. Like case in point in Ron Holland, also did not shoot the ball very well percentage wise, but has a fluid jump shot, has a shot like that looks like dude can shoot. Like Asar, if I see that dude pulling up at like a gym, I'm like, oh man, I'm letting that guy shoot. I'm guarding him so I can get a break on defense. I just think that it's got to become more fluid in a way.
Absolutely. Any other notes on Asar Thompson before we move into Stu and JD? All right, so let's move into our Jalen Duren predictions. This again comes from Gabe. Gabe, you had Duren top 5 in rebounding this past season, 3 offensive and 9 defensive boards per game. You weren't too far off. I think he averaged 11 boards this year and 12 points. So, how do you feel like JD's year was?
Yeah, and he did end up fifth in total rebounds per game according to NBA.com. So I'll take the win on that prediction. And then I know Connie chimed in right after that saying he might lead the NBA in rebounds per game if he played enough minutes. He wasn't quite there, but I think that might happen this year if he gets those defensive lapses under control and can just kind of be in the right spot, grab a few more rebounds. Duren, I mean, we've talked about him over and over again. He had a great year last year, aside from the defense, showing a lot of flashes. Nothing really to add. I'm super excited. I think the sky is the limit for him still. And after that little interview as well, I know JB has some thoughts of that he can be more than just a dunker / rebounder.
Exactly. Connie, I know Gabe, you listened to it. So Connie, do you remember who the three of us? Because Valley couldn't make that episode, but do you remember who the three of us agreed on the comparison for Jalen Duren was?
Was it Dwight Howard?
It was not. I'll give you one more guess.
Was it Bam Adebayo?
It was Bam Adebayo, and we all think that JD could become a Bam Adebayo type player. Connie, do you still feel like that's the case, or are you moving away from that?
I mean, I thought offensively he made some like real nice strides toward it. That's something I think that was part of our predictions, right? That he would do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
He did do a little bit more. He upped his assist numbers. There was definitely a little bit more playmaking from the top of the key. But with that, he also turned the ball over a lot for a center. A lot of those passes were pretty errant. He was trying to fit square pegs in the round hole sometimes, like try to make a pass that wasn't there and just overshot it. But like offensively, he again, just I continue to just be blown away by his like skill set as somebody who I initially didn't want the Pistons to draft because when I saw his like Memphis stuff, I was like, this dude's just like a 6'9" rim runner, and it's again gonna get stale in the NBA when your athleticism is just kind of even to everybody else's. But it didn't. He's another guy that is just more athletic than other players in the NBA, and he has a lot of game. We even saw it a little bit with some mid-range mixing up. He hit a three. He hit a couple threes this year, right? He hit at least 2.
I don't
know. I don't think he did.
He shot at least 2.
He did, but I wanted to touch on that too. I asked you guys, I go, would you guys be more open to Jalen Duren shooting the ball more? And you said no, but for a good reason. You said no because that takes him away from what he does best, and that's crashing the glass.
Yeah, and I think I was probably right on that. I wouldn't those middies like they showed a little bit. He upped his free throw percentage again. He went to 79%. That was impressive.
That's sneaky good for a center.
That is like very good.
Yeah.
But it all comes back to like the prediction we said is like this dude needs to be a good defensive player. There's no way a guy with these tools shouldn't be a good defensive player. And last year again, he was just not a good defensive player. Like he gets a block, but he doesn't get nearly enough blocks. He doesn't contest enough around the rim. I don't think he's often out of position when it comes to helping or being the weak side guy or even the primary like rim defender. It's just everything kind of needs to happen there for everything else to happen. Because like you can be as good offensively as you want as a center. Talk to Enes Kanter. I still believe one of the most skilled offensive centers that we've ever seen in the NBA.
You mean Ennis Freedom?
Sorry, Ennis Freedom. Like honest to God, one of the most deadly offensive centers, I think. But just like you can't play him when it matters because he's just a sieve. And at this point, I hate to say it, JD is like kind of a sieve if you're talking about like rim protecting centers. And that's Bam. Like Bam Adebayo is a dynamic offensive player. You can play like the Heat play a lot of offense around him. But Bam Adebayo is Bam Adebayo because he locks people up. He is an outstanding defender, and if we want that comp to be true, Jalen Duren's got to be an outstanding defender too, which I think he can do. And but yeah, I think the quote that you tweeted that from JB's. Are we going into JB's interview after this?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, then we can wait. But I agree with him in that it's just kind of like we're scratching the surface of what he can do. But what he can do offensively matters a whole lot less if he's not contributing defensively in a major way.
Yeah, and we're gonna go a little faster here if we do want to get to that JB thing. So, Valley, real quick to you. You didn't make that episode, but one thing that I think you would have agreed with, and the three of us did when we did do the pod, is that we said that we were looking forward to the Cade and Duren pick and roll. Did you see everything you wanted to see out of the Cade Duren pick and roll this year?
I do think so. Not to the fullest extent, and I think that last piece that I wanted to see is I know Jalen Duren has that passing ability, and we've seen him make that extra drop off pass. But when he catches in the pick and roll, sometimes I thought he forced awkward shots. Sometimes we talked about potentially him developing a little push shot. However, I think he's just such a physical presence that he can either. Am I still coming in right here?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, my screen froze. So,
Hey.
I like to see him either like find a way to get up strong, like go up with two hands and dunk that thing, because he loves dunking everything, or a strong finish at the rim. If that's not on, maybe develop that push shot, or just that little extra bounce that we saw Bobby Clinton make a lot in the summer league. I think is something that Jalen Duren could really do in that pick and roll aspect. But in terms of being an aerial threat for the lob, or just like getting a tight pass and dunking the basketball, absolutely showed great signs from him. But defensively is where it's at for him. Like there's a reason he won 14 games. We sucked at a lot of things, but we sucked at defense, and including that was rim protection. I think I do think you have to give him a little bit of grace that we'll see this season is his health. I think his ankles were bothering him all year, and we saw he missed a lot of games because of his ankles and came back too soon, I think, because of his ankles. And he just seemed to step slow as to where he was in the beginning of the year. Maybe that is just like a really long rookie wall he hit. Not being used to the 82 game season, the travel, the everything that comes with being an NBA player as compared to college, especially as a guy who jumped up a year and reclassified. Um, but I'm hoping for a healthy Jalen Duren season to give a full judgment of his defensive abilities because Gabe, like you said, like he should be a good defender. We've seen him protect the rim. We've seen him switch onto smaller players. I just my last hope for him defensively is that his ankles were really bothering him, and this year hopefully he's 100% can turn those corners and react quicker.
JB Bickerstaff did say that in his introductory press conference. He said that Stu and Duren would switch out onto his guards when he was in Cleveland, and they would have some trouble with that. So maybe that's something that we look at a little bit more this upcoming season. I believe Duren was wearing ankle braces in the USA Team Select scrimmage footage, so hopefully that's a sign that his ankles are doing a little better. And the other thing regarding the ankles is he did come out. I believe James Edwards said this, and he said that Duren said that he does not blame his lack of defensive effort on his ankles. He says that's on him, and it's something he's going to need to work on to get better as he matures and grows as a player. You could look at that two ways. You could look at that as him saying, "I'm not making excuses," or we could just be like, "Yeah, they bugged him, and that's why, and it's going to look better this upcoming season." Any other notes on JD before we quickly move into Stu? Before we look at the JB Bickerstaff interview with Richard Jefferson. All right, so only one big prediction here from Stu, and again, it comes from Gabe. Gabe said that Stu was going to shoot 38% from three this upcoming season, and we look forward to him playing some good defense and improving his field goal percentage overall, especially around the rim. Gabe, do you think you saw everything you wanted to see from Stu this last year?
I did, and another prediction I hit it right on the mark. So maybe I'll have to take Connie's crystal ball away from him next year.
You might have to.
My crystal ball is only driven by hate. Prediction.
I tried to look up his field goal percentage at the rim compared to last year. I could not find it, but he did increase his percentages across the board, and he just looked a little more in control. He still had those weird little, quick release shots that just kind of got flipped up into the air and did not go in very much. So still some stuff to work on, but I mean, Stu, I think, was our most consistent player last year, probably the second best player behind Cade. And I still expect him to be a large contributing factor this year. Just steady Stu, I call him.
Steady Stu, I love
What
it.
did you want to know? Like restricted area stuff or what?
Yeah, just in the paint, real close, under 3 feet type of.
Within 5 feet, he was 62%. In the restricted area, 63%. On layups, 59%.
How does that compare to last year?
Oh, brother.
Because those numbers themselves, they're not great, but they're not bad either.
So last year, for the year before, within 5 feet, it was 54%, so that's less. His layup percentage was 47%.
Wow,
So
he went
he
up
did
by what,
improve
12%?
shooting the ball pretty much from every range last year.
Very impressive. Very impressive. I'm gonna ask Connie about Stu right now, but Gabe, could you look up how many dunks Jalen Duren had last season, how that ranks? Because Connie had a prediction for, or had a stat about the dunks, and I just want to see if he improved or declined. Valley, you could look it up too if you want. But Connie, how do you feel about Stu this last season?
Um, I thought it was pretty good. He kept his progression towards being more of an outside threat and a spacer. I as really playing like certain lineups, it was like what Cade, Ivy, Asar, Stu, Duran. He was definitely overtasked as being the spacer in that lineup, and I thought he still, even though he improved his shooting, he was still not being guarded as a shooter. I felt he still had some problems with late contests or partial contests that you really can't have if you're going to be a legit like shooter. Um, I didn't feel like, I mean, yeah, I thought the touch around the rim got a little better. The layups got a little less wild. Monty definitely made a point of when there was a smaller dude on him, when they were trying to play a smaller four, there was a switch to give it to Stu and let him pound. But I felt like as the year went on, teams got more ready for that, more used to that, and it became less effective. I Yeah, his shooting got better reasonably better. I want it to continue to improve if he's going to be a legit spacer. But I thought he had an okay season. I didn't feel like the defense was as notably good as other years.
Which couldn't be a bad thing because it could be we just expect that from Stu and he didn't notice. We didn't notice any lapses, which is
Yeah,
also.
I mean, also like a lot of the stuff around him, like defense is tough to do when you're like the one guy that
Yeah,
sort of play, especially like in the NBA.
and he was probably our best rim protector last season too. And I there's a Jack Kelly posted a stat about it too, but he also locked up Giannis this season too, which is also very interesting.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty much par for the course. Slight improvements in the shooting. I want to see it like we'll do a season preview pod, but I want to see it keep getting better and more comfortable with that 3-pointer.
For sure. Did anybody find the Duran dunk stats?
Yes, he attempted 167 and he completed 156 dunks.
Okay, because Connie had him said coming into this last season, Duran ranked 8th in dunks, and everybody else that ranked above him had 300 more minutes, which was really interesting to me. So I just wanted to see if he was still throwing it down at a rate that was much more rapid than others. Valley, any thoughts on Stu this last season before we get into the JV Bickerstaff interview?
Not much more that wasn't said. I do think he was our most consistent player, and I think he just the shot looked pretty good, but it's interesting at times like he wasn't being guarded and respected as a floor spacer despite having higher attempts and higher percentages. And I think he would go through phases of missing like 6, 7 in a row before hitting a couple. And I just think like that his ceiling on his 3-point shot was not very high this season. However, I think it's important to know like that was his first year like really being called a power forward. I'd say I think last year I think it would be too soon to still call him like a power forward first, but he's a 4-5 now. He's not a 5-4. You know, he came into the league as a 5. Next season 5-4. Now he's a 4-5. Next season he'll be a 4, I think, and maybe that'll go back more to the 5. But I just think he has to be given a little bit of grace in terms of like making a huge jump. Like that 3-point shot is something he's flirted with his whole career, but has never really like fully gone into being a threat from outside the arc. And I think he brought it every single night. Like, if you want a guy that's gonna give you like 12 and 7, like, and work his ass off, like call up Stu. It's not gonna be anything to like be glamorous or anything, but he's gonna come in. He's gonna work hard. He's gonna be Isaiah Stewart, and I think that's why I think the majority of our fan base, and I don't want to, I don't want to say, but those who like appreciate good basketball, like, no, Isaiah Stewart is a good part of this team, and he's a part of the future here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams that are competitive teams that want Isaiah Stewart. Dallas Mavericks, Boston Celtics, New Orleans Pelicans have all called the Pistons and asked for Stu, which means he has some value with teams that are looking to compete and looking to contend. So his contract does go up this year. Let's see if he lives up to it. This year when we do predictions, I'm going to ask you guys over under on the number of fights Stu gets into. Last year, I can only remember him getting into it with Brandon Miller, PJ Washington. That was basically the same game, and punching Drew Eubanks in the face. But can you guys remember any other Stu fights? I can't.
I'm sure there were a lot of chippy altercations.
I'm sure, but I
But
can't remember too many of them. But any other notes on any of the guys that we touched on before we move into the interview?
Yeah, real quick, Jalen Duren did end 8th in the league in total dunks last year, behind Evan Mobley, Gobert, Giannis, Nick Claxton, Aaron Gordon, Jared Allen, and the surprise for me, KJ Martin, who had 20 more dunks than Jalen Duren.
Really,
That's impressive.
Rudy Gobert we don't have to go into this, but he played 4 minutes for the French national team. He's such a fraud, man. NBA needs to fix their voting system.
Wow. All right. Hot take of the pod. Did you guys catch any of the Olympics quarterfinal games yesterday?
A little bit.
A little bit. Did you
Yeah, I
guys
watched
catch
the
the Germany
highlights.
game?
What did
What
you
was that,
say?
Emmett?
The Germany Greece game? What's that?
Actually,
U.S.
none at
one or
all.
the France one?
There were
Good.
three yesterday. There was the Greece one, the France one, and then the US one.
I watched
And the Serbia one, Australia.
Yep. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
I watched USA Brazil.
Yeah. I
This
watched
weekend.
like the first half and then it just became a blowout, so I started zoning out. But the first two games of the day were good. The
You guys
Greece
remember
Germany
Bruno
game.
Caboclo?
Yeah, he dropped 30.
He
Didn't
had a
he?
30 piece, yeah.
Yeah, he's not too young. He's not too old. Bring him. Bring
You know
him.
what I'm
Bring
a
him.
little upset about is that we don't have any international players.
Yeah.
Notable. I'd love to root for a Pistons role player balling out, and I would even have rooted for Killian Hayes if he was on the French team.
The French team, yeah, I think I would
We-
too. But we have nobody. I don't think Boyan's in there. Bogdan's there.
Fontecchio got injured, or else you
Yeah.
was on
they
the
didn't make it though, did they?
Fournier kind of getting some buckets for the French national
Yeah.
team.
He is. He hit that
I
bomb.
don't give
of
a
three.
fuck about Fournier. I'll be real with you, man. I don't consider him a Piston.
Yeah. He
That's
was
awesome. Wemby should have been a Piston. So there's that. All right, before we go down that rabbit hole, Gabe, take it away with some of the takeaways you got from the JB Bickerstaff interview with Richard Jefferson on the Road Trippin' YouTube channel.
Yeah, so this was a really lighthearted it's just a podcast. It wasn't really much of an interview. They're longtime friends, which is actually pretty cool. Just some little notes here that I took. He did mention Cade has the opportunity to play in 3 positions. So that'll be interesting to see him more, hopefully in an off-ball role in some lineups. And then like he said, he's been watching Jalen Duren a lot, and he's extremely skilled with the ball, this is his quote, and he's going to try to play him out of the pocket a lot. What does that mean exactly, playing out of the pocket?
It means I think on the pick and roll when you hit the guy in the pocket and probably just have Duren play make out of that spot, which I'm very happy with because, you do that. We have 2 guys that can set a screen and roll and play that spot, and that's Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson. So I'm looking forward to that.
This is bringing back a memory. I feel like I wanted that was one of my preseason calls.
You compared it,
yeah. Playmaker. The issue with short roll playmaking with the lineups that we had last time is that short roll playmaking usually means you pass it out to a shooter or a cutter, but the placing was just so awful that you pass out to the shooter and the shooter's Asar Thompson. Uh, yeah, that's something I could see being a lot better this year. You put three shooters out there with Caden Duran. I'd love to see some of that.
I mean, Tobias, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Tobias Harris with JD and Cade. I mean, that's three shooters that you can kick out to, so it could be very fun.
Sweet.
And then he's been around the league for a while now, JB, and he said partnering, this is a quote, partnering with the right people is paramount for success. Trajan, and then he mentioned other people like Blackstone and other people. They really know what they're doing and are some great people. So, just a little more confirmation coming from a guy who's been around in some good teams, that I feel like I trust him to know what's good. And if he says all these guys know what they're doing, then they probably do. And then lastly, the co-host, I forgot her name, excuse me, she asked JB, what's the expectations for the Pistons this year? And he said it's to have an identity, drawing back to the bad boys, but especially the going to work Pistons, tough, playing your role, team basketball. And then he mentioned defense last. And, we hear this comparison all the time. We want to go back to the grit and grind, these type of Pistons teams. So, it didn't really stand out to me, but if the expectation is to have an identity and not to chase a certain number of wins, then I think it's much more achievable than trying to get an identity through winning games. And he also said the most important thing is to have fun, because if these guys are having fun, then they're confident. And if they're confident, you're more likely to make some shots and win some games. So just overall, good stuff. It wasn't that long. I highly suggest you go listen to that podcast. Some funny stories on there between, because he's also best friends with Jamal Mosley, who he coached against in the playoffs last year. So that was a pretty funny little story there as well.
Yeah, and it was just like Gabe said, it's a super lighthearted podcast. I think within the first 30 seconds on the pod, Richard Jefferson is like, "Yeah, this is the third time you're on here, and it's the third different team that you're with when you join the show." So I mean, you just took shots at JV the whole time, so it was great. I only listened to a little bit of it, so looking forward to the rest of it. But Valley, Connie, did you guys have a listen, or do you have anything to comment on before Gabe throws a couple random questions at us?
I didn't give it a listen. No. I actually don't consume a lot of Pistons media outside of just Pistons games. I try to. I will give that a listen. And I want to hear what he says, but I try not to influence my opinion on the Stones with anything other than what I see. But I mean,
Enough.
so I will listen to that.
Hard to blame you there, Valley. Oh yeah, keep going.
But you said Cade three positions. I mean, that means that we're gonna see him slot at small forward. Did we not see that last year?
We kind of did.
And Ivy on the court as well.
Yeah, it was Sasser, Ivy, Cade,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be three guard, right? You can play another wing next to Cade. Like Fontecchio, Harris, Cade, Ivy, Stu.
But that means him guarding the three, or that means him playing the three functionally on offense, right? Because last year you put the three guard lineups out there, but it's still just Cade Cunningham doing everything for the team, and the other two guards just being guards, right? I think they put them out there because they were a little bit better at shooting than the other things they could have put out there, but they were just tiny. So is it going to be a three guard offense or a Cade small forward or wing offense that actually has him playing that position, or just has him slotted in that position? It's something that I'm very curious about.
Yeah, maybe an Isaac Okoro type role where he doesn't really have to do anything. Maybe, I don't know, or a Max Strus type thing. So I'm interested.
But yeah,
I'm interested. Valley, any thoughts on anything Gabe mentioned, or the interview if you had to listen?
I did not have a listen, but I probably will now. But I don't think I have anything to say on it.
All right, sweet. So Gabe, I think you had two questions that you wanted to throw our way. We're ready.
All right. So one's a little more subjective, the other one's more stat based. So who do you think will Fred Vincent help the most of all these players? And I guess I'll just answer real quick. I think it's Jaden Ivey, because he took the most threes last year. It's kind of like if he becomes a volume shooter, it helps him the most. So that's just who I think will see the largest increase in not necessarily percentage, but maybe just in functional 3-point shooting that helps win games.
Wait, what was the question? Repeat the question.
Who will Fred Vincent help the most?
Hmm.
And you can take that in like any way you want, I guess.
Uh, Anybody got an answer? Because I got an answer.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's Stu. Like we said, like wide open, that man was like hitting shots, but it was when pressure was on or conditions weren't perfect. That's when like the shots started falling off. And I think those sort of tweaks to make it like to make your jump shot more wide conditionally, like to cover more bases, is easier to do than to build up a non-functional jump shot. Like Stu has a shot, he just has to be able to adapt it to a variety of situations, and that's something that I think Fred Vincent could really help him with, to make him more of a functional shooter, to make him more of a threat, to hit difficult shots rather than, or even like slightly contested shots rather than just the little ones. Like we saw it last year. I think you guys agree. His jump shot form looked a little different. It looked a little smoother.
Yeah, it looked pretty slick.
Yeah, and I expect that to just continue, and him to just real like Fred Vincent to really help him refine his abilities as a shooter in a variety of situations.
Valley, do you have an answer?
I think it's got to be Jaden Ivey. I agree with what Connie said, and I would like to say something different, like maybe even K just, but I think that's more so building competent roster around him. I think in terms of potential, I think it is Jaden Ivey. In terms of like opportunity, the way they're going to use him with the staggering, I just think it's the obvious answer.
Fair enough. I could take the cheap answer here and say Asar Thompson, because even if he goes from 18 to 22%, that's technically an improvement. But I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to go with I'm going to say Cade. I'm going to say he helps Cade fine tune that 3-point shooting and finally gets Cade that all-star nod that we're all anticipating.
What about Ron Holland? Because Ron Holland as an effective 3-point shooter is a.
I would love that to be the case, but I don't know if we're going to get enough minutes or sample size of Holland to know like if it's improved or not as of right now.
Okay.
All right, next question. What player and what stat do you think will be closest to league leader? So, for instance, I think it's going to be Duren. Field goal percentage will be, up there in top 3 in the league, and hopefully he can take that number 1 spot.
I'll say Cade assists.
Okay. Going out on a limb there.
Yeah.
I'll take one of like the 5 locations on a shot chart. I'll take Simone Fontecchio for 3-point percentage, and I'm feeling the left corner.
I can see that actually.
Realistically, probably Duren on those boards. He was playing sub 30 minutes a game. If he plays like 33, 34, he could take that. In my hope, I'm gonna go Asar Thompson steals. If he sees consistent minutes, I like he just might get 2 steals a game.
I think last year 2.4 led the league in steals.
It's just the minutes. If he gets the minutes, I think he could do it. But there's a lot of wings that can shoot better than him on this team right now.
There's so many. I mean, I think we'll get into a rotations prediction, maybe even next pod, but it's going to get interesting. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts already doing it. I know, Connie, you don't listen to them, but Pistons Talk has talked about their depth chart. They got roasted for it. Bryce Simon and Omari Sankofa on the Pistons Pulse have done it. It was very interesting. And I think Cahill even did one too. And I think James Edwards did one too. So it's going to be interesting. And we kind of did one a couple weeks ago, but now that we've had time to sit on it, we can dive more into it for sure. But anything else you guys want to touch on before we get out of here?
I have a guess. If we've taken enough time, I have a quick guess that Piston if you guys want to.
Oh yeah, let's run it.
All right. Well, guess that Piston.
All right. Who wants to ask the first question? I hand it to Gabe Valley.
Uh, is he
Did
white?
Yes.
Did they play in the 2010s?
Yes.
Is he a shooter?
Yes.
I think I got one so far.
Is he a lefty?
I don't think so. No. No.
Ooh.
No.
Ooh.
Is he a big?
No. That's fine.
Ooh. Um, for those that don't know, while I stall for some time, the rules against that piston is we get 10 questions to ask Connie about this player, and then we have to each make a guess, and hopefully we get it right. But for now, we're on. What do we have? 4 questions?
5. You got 5 more.
We got 5 more.
Did
Is he a guard?
Huh?
Is he a guard?
Yes.
have we established the era he played in yet as of coaching and everything?
No, you just
Played
asked
the
if he played in the
2010s.
2010s.
Okay. Did he play under Stan Van?
No. That's 7.
Oh, I think I got it. I think I got it. Is he a European foreign player?
Yes. That's 8.
What?
Oh,
I think Gabe got it too.
I'm blanking on the name, but I think I know who it is.
Hold on. Should I ask the question? Did we trade him?
Did we trade him?
Yeah.
Let me get back to you. I don't think so.
Okay. Damn.
Wait. I don't believe we traded him. No.
Okay. Gabe Valley, any last question before I throw my guess out there?
We may as well use
lost
that
right
last
now.
one.
What was that?
We may as well use the last guess if anyone has one.
Last question or last guess?
Last guess or last question?
Last question. Let's see. Use the question. Can we roll over a question into a guess? Is that a thing? Like instead of a 10th question, we get 4 guesses. Last question could be
We did not trade him. No.
we did not trade him.
Did not trade him.
Yeah, then I think I'm out on this one.
What have we established?
We
He's
established
white.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it all. He's white. He played in the
All right.
2010s. He's a shooter. He's right-handed. He's a guard. He did not play under Stan Van. He's European, and he was not traded.
Not traded away. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, not traded away.
Did he play? Should we do another coach question?
Oh,
Kind
I'm
of narrow
sorry.
down.
Hold on. No, wait, I think I'm right.
Should we do another coach question?
So what do we think? Like if he was Dwayne?
Was he with Dwayne or was he with Monty? Like those are the only 2 after Stan Van, right?
Monty's 2020s.
It could have been pre-Stan Van under like Lawrence Frank.
Yeah,
Oh,
gold
boy.
bow cheeks.
Okay, so guess one of those because I think that narrows it down. Was it pre Stan Van Gundy? I guess. Last question.
Oh, yeah, sure. Was it pre-Stan Van?
It was pre-Stan Van.
Ooh.
All right,
Okay.
I have a guess. It's not really. He's not really a guard, but it'll be my guess anyway.
I don't have a
Pre-Stan
guess. On it.
Van?
Is it Gigi Datome?
It's not Gigi.
It's
Oh.
not Gigi.
That's a good guess.
All right, that was mine.
I couldn't watch the Pistons during the pre Stan Van era, so I'm kind of out on this one. In case one of you got another guess.
Wow. Guard? White guy.
Oh, I just
Pre-Stan.
looked it up. I know it, so I'm not gonna answer.
No, I don't have a guess, then you can do it. Well, I guess
No,
we're good to play off.
He was not European,
He
correct?
was
he
European.
is European.
Oh. I don't know. I've been.
Maybe not like you're thinking the wrong type of white. You're thinking maybe like white. You know, these guys got like
Yeah, he's
I
more of a gazpacho type of white guy.
yeah.
okay, that makes me feel better because I do have a guess.
All right, yes.
Bro,
I don't remember because I recall watching him. He's the only name popping in my head right now.
Go for
The
it.
free throw legend himself. Is it Jose
It
Calderon?
is Jose
Oh,
Calderon.
Oh, nice.
Played for the Pistons in 2011-12, and then again under Dwayne Casey in 17-18 for a bit.
that could have been so
Oh,
much.
that's yeah.
That's crazy. Anybody else got one while we're here?
I could come up with one real quick.
All right, go for it.
All
Well,
right, I got one.
Sekou Doumbouya. No, I'm kidding.
There you got it.
Um. All right, I asked the first. No, Gabe asked the first question last time. So Connie, you were just a question answerer, so you can
Yeah,
ask.
I'm gonna go for the tough question. Is he white?
No.
oh,
Sekou Doumbouya. No. Did he play under Dwayne Casey?
He did not.
Okay. Okay.
did he play under Stan?
I don't think so. Let me make sure.
All right, then he's probably pre-Stan.
Pre-Stan. Yeah, this is all you guys then. I was in Arizona, no
I mean,
NBA.
or after, yeah.
I mean, if he wasn't for Casey and he didn't
Yeah.
think he's for Stan, then he's Stan or pre-Stan.
Yeah, he
So
did not play under.
yeah, if he did not play under Stan, then that's probably pre-Stan.
Is he a guard?
Yes.
Guard, pre-Stan.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
I think I might know who it is. Did he?
That's another good question.
I have a player in mind that's kind of altering everything else I'm thinking about. Did he ever win a championship in his
He did
career?
not win a championship.
Is he right or left-handed?
He is right-handed.
Is he a Pistons legend? Like, is he beloved? Or
I
at least
would
was at the time?
I would not say so.
It takes mine.
Did
7 guesses.
That's 7?
Yeah.
Connie, you got another question?
Did he get convicted of insurance fraud?
I don't think so. Who was convicted of insurance fraud? Was that Will Bynum?
It was Will Bynum.
It's not Will Bynum. and as far as I'm concerned, he was not convicted of insurance fraud.
That was one of my 2 guesses, so I'm glad you
Sorry, he was for making false statements to the NBA players' health and welfare benefit program.
Oh my god.
Oh shoot, that just took out my whole thing.
Is he a shooter?
One of his threats was his 3-point shooting, yeah.
Okay, so we're talking a guard, pre-Stan Van. One of his threats was 3-point shooting. Black guy. What else we have?
Does not have a chip. Right hand.
Chip. Not crazy.
Not a legend with the Pistons.
Are we out?
We
Yeah,
have
one
one more
more.
guess.
Should we clarify what kind of guard he was?
Sure.
Yeah.
Was he a point guard?
No.
Damn.
I have an idea.
I don't. That took mine away. I
The
was-
Alright.
future. Go ahead.
Was it Rodney Stuckey?
No, it was not Rodney
that was
Stuck.
that was my guess. Did you say he was a shooter or he wasn't a shooter? Or he was a point shooting guard?
One of his threats.
One of his threats was
Not a
shooting.
point guard.
Is it Ben Gordon?
It is not Ben Gordon.
Ooh. And we said it was a guard.
I have one more guess, Ahmed, after you guys just.
I don't got one to throw it out there.
Is it Kim English?
It is Kim English.
All right, we're 2 for 2 today. You guys want to do one more, or should we get out of here?
I gotta head to the gym, unfortunately. Could
All
do
right,
this
all right.
later.
We'll save it for next time. We'll save it for next time. But if you guys are still listening, let us know if you enjoyed that game. We'll do a little bit more of it. Maybe we do 1 or 2 per episode up until we get the preseason schedule out there. Lions football tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. So Detroit sports are coming back. The Tigers have kind of been playing well until the last homestand. So let's see how it goes. But until next time, throw the Buffs on Detroit. The future is bright.